Hi guys, welcome back. Scatlink here, and we are off for the World Machine Edition bonus episode of our ventures through OneShot. And yeah, just came off the heels of a World Machine Edition simulated run. We finally saved Maze, and we can now open the music box because the game's not open. And we have access to the entire soundtrack, but, you know, there's kind of a problem where this is the only way we can go through everything, so... God's Machine, how's that sound? Oh, it's that one. I don't like that one. I will admit, some of these tracks sounded much more creepy out of context. Oh, well, that one I don't want. What do I fancy here? Self-contained universe reprise. Oh, we're not going to have that again, because I seem to use that quite a lot. Little cat feet. Ah, you know what? We'll have library stroll. You know why? Because we're going to be strolling through the library, so we'll minimise that. Also, you can see a little animation of Nico here, or the Messiah, as it were. So that's pretty cool. You can even speed this up if you wanted to. That sounds a little bit weird, but the game does do that throughout the game in order to, you know, change the tone, because, you know, you lower this a bit, and it sounds a bit more subdued, or, you know, you can make it sound a bit more creepy, more dire, just like how it used to be. So let's just leave it as such and minimize that, and we're going to go exploring. So first of all, once again, as I showed at the end of the last episode, we got the last of the achievements, mainly extreme bartering, because we never got the t-shirt to begin with. The Ram Whisperer is what the t-shirt's used for. All of this is pretty much self-explanatory, really, except for obviously these last four being, well, thanks for everything being PlayStation exclusive, but all four of these in general being World Machine Edition exclusive. And this is on the Switch, remember, so it's good that it's all there. So I've got all the achievements. First of all, I'm going to go through the documents. It's the usual stuff that you are used to. There's our save data right there. I'm not entirely too sure if we can delete that or not. I'm not going to. The only time I use the delete feature is to delete your old save data after completing your first run in order to access Solstice. So, OneShot, obviously, we know. We checked Customize and Help. They're basically... These four are basically our gameplay stuff, and all the rest, other than Portals, is collectible-based. Portals, I mean, this is probably why they're not in... Prototype and Cedric are not in the simulated run, because obviously they're not part of the original program, so they don't show up. They're stuck post-Solstice and that's it. In fact, their keys are still in the big portal. So, but yeah, that only shows up there, and you can't create folders. These just appear as you unlock them, really. So let's first go with the bios. Why not? So we'll do the bios, because, you know, you're bombing a Profit Bot. That's the first thing you're probably going to collect, so it makes sense. I've already shown Profit Bot, but we haven't actually read it. So, met at the Barrens. Profit Bot is a nice and friendly robot that lives outside in the outskirts of the world, waiting for the Messiah. One day the Messiah showed up. It was a very good day for Profit Bot. When the Messiah is not around, Profit Bot likes to spend his time standing around waiting for the Messiah to come back. You can click the profile picture here to cycle through all of the mugshots. Silver met in the Barrens. Baron's head engineer, rather remorse robot, living alone near the mines. It's her duty to oversee operations and maintenance of the world's industrial heart, where metals and resources are pulled from the Earth's clutches and rendered into usable goods. At least that's how things used to be. Since the evacuation, only a few active robots remain under Silver's care, holding out on reserve power and waiting for the Messiah to appear. Now, you gotta remember that in the lore that we kind of figure out from, you know, Rue and all that near the end of Solstice, well, OneShot, the app, is kind of based off of an original world, where all these people, all these robots are actually, well, they were real, but they had a prophecy that a Messiah would come and to their world and would, you know, instill hope. The problem is that was a hopeless effort, because the Messiah wouldn't even be born. So, you know, that was the narrative for the program, the archive, to tell the story, but because it required outside help in order to even run, they it draws in the Messiah and dataizing them through that data portal that Nico left through. So all these bios could actually be from the original counterparts of these characters. And not just the ones in the game. A little robot attached to a rowboat rusted in place by the ocean's mist. Once part of a fleet that transported small amounts of cargo and the occasional passengers across the ocean between the Barrens and the Glen, that fleet has been largely disbanded since people fled the Barrens when the sun was extinguished. Only this bot remains, dutifully stationed in case that there is ever need for one more trip that distant shore. That reminds me, speaking of oceans, think of the tower as one big lighthouse, and that's why we got to replace the bulb, because if it's that high up, it's the sun. Obviously the original world's sun died, and obviously the whole solar system, the world, that died, and that's why everything went cold, and that's when everyone in Solstice was mentioning it's quite colder than usual, even though it's called Solstice. It's because we're bringing the sun back, properly. It's so thematic. But it's also very dark. This game's got really dark backstory. You're playing the remnants of a lost world, and you're trying to save that very archive from corrupting itself. There's so much at stake here. Oh, that's a bit spooky. Calamus, a polite boy that leads a quiet life with his younger sister Alula in the ruins outside of town. He often has his hands full, looking out for her, and tends to worry when she's not around. Calamus spends most of his time fishing and foraging around the ruins, and relies on his friend Magpie to trade for any goods that can't be scavenged. Though they don't have much in the way of luxuries, Calamus has a small collection of books gifted by an old friend that he likes to study when he gets the chance. Judging by the amount of progress he's made, however, those chances don't come very often, and of course that old friend is mostly the author. He was a friend to everybody. Because remember, in previous iterations of the world, or the archive of the world at least, he kept going in, so maybe that was all saved and built onto the narrative, you know? And this is the latest version. Alula, a cheerful, excitable young girl. She lives in the ruins under the care of her older brother Calamus, too young to remember what much of the world was before the sun was lost. Alula is optimistic and thrilled to be helping the Messiah on their special quest. When Alula isn't busy exploring every nook and cranny the ruins has to offer, she can usually be found helping out her big brother or playing around the courtyard and around their home. And for little feet, she can certainly kick a block. Well. This was the only thing that we could actually get of Maze just by leaving the room, as you've seen from the slideshow that I showed in the last episode, because, you know, that was all the stuff we collected at the time. This is just showing everything off. Maze, a benevolent and powerful plant spirit acting as a sort of guardian for the Glen. Last of her kind, her life force has slowly dwindled in the absence of the sun's light. After all these cold, hungry years, her only wish is to see the sun once more. Only got 4 profile pictures, and that's it, really. I will admit, her overworld sprite is not very good looking, but, you know, it's her portrait that gets me, because this is literally all you see. You can see she's tired, you can see this absolutely, drained of energy. It's so sad. This is probably the most tragic character in the game, other than the World Machine, not gonna lie to you. Magpie! I never knew this guy was called Magpie, but it makes sense, because he collects stuff and he's a bird. An easygoing merchant and purveyor of fine goods. Fine in this case mostly meaning colourful and or shiny. Still, it's always a good idea to check what's in stock. He might have just what you've been looking for. He actually mentions the music box before you go into Solstice, cluing it into the fact that, hey, you might need some gears. Music boxes have gears. So if you remember that, and not just talk to everybody, you can make it go a lot quicker. Shop operates on barter, however, so be prepared to give something up if Magpie deems interesting enough for a trade. Magpie used to have a much more impressive collection till his shop was tragically lost in the sinking ground, forcing Magpie to flee in the wagon that is now his home. Calamus and Alula are some of Magpie's best customers, finding all sorts of curiosities lost in the ruins. I just noticed he doesn't have any moving sprites, because he just stands there, menacingly. The Shepherd, it's Proton John. What else are we going to say? Well, it's actually a woman here, but to be fair, from, the sprite and the mugshot, you can't really tell. Definitely has curls in the, picture here, but that doesn't... It didn't really convey that very well. Also, because there's no sprites to deal with, they just literally put in free RAM here. A shepherd woman who tends a flock of rams seems to have an endless supply of ram puns and computer puns. You could say that she has a lot of ram munition, a real dyed-in-the-wall pun fanatic. Her love of puns never dims. The most puns you've ever heard. Must have a really good memory to remember them all. Even so, you can't help but groan a bit. Computer. The Lamplighter! Hello there. A tired-looking man who seems to subsist purely on gallons of coffee. It's unclear how long it's been since he's last time he slept. Wow, I cannot read. Then again, I'm kind of clicking this at the same time. Though he's not the brightest fellow, he's an incredibly hard worker and takes his job very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that he gets anxious whenever he can't perform his duties. He's responsible for keeping the lights around the city lit, as well as delivering highly concentrated phosphor for use in machines. A high school dropout, he feels nervous whenever he has to be around smart people. Lately, the Lamplighter has taken to reading the dictionary and what little free time he has. Trying to educate himself. The Watcher. Again, I didn't realise this was a woman. I mean, you can't really tell when you just have a long coat and a clock for a face. I'm not judging, but it's very abstract. So, you could have kept them androgynous, like with Frisk, Kara, and, you know, Nico. I consider Nico a female, personally. But that's what the bio here says. A strange woman standing in the clock tower, waiting for the world to end. Seconds, minutes, hours, days. The flow of time inexorably, can't say that for a second there, drags us all towards a vast unknowable sea. Will you let it carry you in darkness, squinting against the sting of its spray? Will you rage against its currents, fighting to make as much headway as you can before you're being overtaken? Or will you choose, as some, to stare wide-eyed at this swirling torrent and become enraptured by it? Just asking philosophical questions here, really. Endling, Temmie's character design here. A friendly proprietor of the Refuge Cafe, once a popular spot to relax and bask in the warm aromas and gentle sounds of cafe ambience. It's mostly deserted since the squares began picking apart the upper reaches of the city. Nowadays, Ling's best customer is the unfaltering, though not especially talkative, Lamplighter. It's a shame that he doesn't actually have a name even in the bios here. Always a gracious host, Ling enjoys meeting customers, both new and old, and chatting with them. If you ask nicely, she might even take the time to whip up a request for something off menu. I wonder if pancakes are actually on the menu or not. Makes you wonder. You're so bubbly. Mason, yes. The plant man. The plant pot man. Bill and Ben, the flower pot man. No profile pics there. A chatty guy with a passion for plants. He owns a small plant shop in the Refuge apartment district. However, it's mostly an excuse to do more gardening, as Mason tends to gift almost as many plants as he sells. When it comes to horticultural advice, Mason is the guy to see. A friend of the Watcher, Mason also admires the Lamplighter's hard work. And once sent him one of his plants as a fake thank you. Yeah, the thing is with most of these profiles, you have to talk to the character in almost every possible way until there's literally nothing else to do with the character in order to actually make these appear for you to click. Kelvin! The Radiator Dude. A space heater robot that has claimed one of the corners of the Refuge's back alleys as his own. Kelvin's warm body naturally attracts a lot of cats, and he seems to have developed some kind of bond with them. Kelvin's always willing to offer his warmth and comfort to any creature that wanders by. Technically the Lamplighter's neighbour, but they don't interact much. Everyone mentions the Lamplighter. Dude gets around. But look at these cats. This one's got multicoloured eyes. This one's just comfy, sitting in his arms. This one's like, please pet me. I'll give you a little pet. There we go. But yeah, that's adorable. Kip! The brilliant and highly respected head of engineers of the Refuge. Kip is responsible for many advances in robot technology that makes our lives easier every day. She's also the creator of many robots that can be met throughout the world, most notably Silver, the Baron's head engineer, who was based on Kip's own image. Silver was intended to be the first of a new type of robot that could think and act like a person. Mega Man X? Unfortunately, the difficulty of that task led her going rogue during development. Though Silver was eventually stabilised, that day left a scar on their relationship that has yet to heal. Though her creations are well known, the creator herself prefers to keep a low profile and focus on her work. It's likely that few outside of her colleagues have ever seen her. Oh, I accidentally moved the window. I didn't mean to do that. George! Now, here's a thing that I had to look up. Apparently, if you get a different roll of the dice, because there was a page in the, Actually, hang on a second. Go on into the gallery real quick, because we can actually check any picture or page spread that we see in the game. It gets added to the gallery. There are 6. Which one did you encounter? This is something about the multiverse theory. Every time you do a new run before Solstice, you bump into you can possibly bump into a different version of George. I got, funnily enough, 4 on this World Machine Edition Replicate. But that is not what I think I had on the PC, so... yeah, not everything's always the same. Let's get back to this. I think the bio's exactly the same. I believe so. Maybe it's different, but you don't need every single one to get the achievement because, well, it procced when I got mazes. Because that was the last one I needed. George is the enthusiastic head librarian of the Refuge Library. Apart from managing all of the library's many resources and services, this also means she's in charge of publishing the author's many manuscripts. It's a great opportunity for George to share her passion for literature and read all the latest books. The best way to describe George would be to think of a dog that always wants to show everyone its favourite toy, but the toy is books and the dog is a librarian and also not a dog but a dice block and still having a good time. It's like every dot of their face is an actual eyeball. It's kind of weird. Prototype. Funnily enough, we have data here, thank you, author. A dour and reclusive robot that lives in the outskirts of the world, waiting for a second chance. One day, the Messiah shows up, and that was truly an unexpected turn of events. Proto is a child of the author and a predecessor of the Prophet bot that lives in the Barrens, originally built to serve the same purpose of greeting the Messiah, not as a pre-programmed robot, but attain one of its own will. Unfortunately, Prototype never saw a Messiah in his own time. Though seemingly unfriendly, Proto isn't uncaring. He keeps an eye on Silver and the Barrens from the shadows, and Silver looks out for him in turn. Cedric, the prestigious tinkerer and child of the author. Cedric is the operator of the only known flying machine, a plane, a miraculous, a highly advanced device that can travel the skies. Cedric has been waiting in the refuge for the day the world can be truly saved. Cedric is hopeful, eager to play his role in the final gambit. Rue, a mysterious fox who can talk. Rue has a bad leg, but the origins of the injury are unknown. I don't think that's actually visible. Actually, it is. There's a dot on her leg. There must be the bandage it was on about. Which, funnily enough, in the picture, you can't see because that leg is behind her tail. Rue has a bad leg, but the origins are unknown. Nevertheless, it doesn't seem to bother her too much. Rue is the first child of the author and knows many secrets about the world and its true nature. While she feels wistful thinking back to how her real world has gone, she is determined to do whatever she can to help Nico set this one right. She is able to retain some of her memories across sessions, and has always been watching, and always been waiting for the day her father's plan would be finally set into motion. Ah, now here we are. These are the big ones. I believe this was received at the end of the credits, right before you go into the sunroom again, put the sun away, and then say bye to Nico. And of course, all the profile pictures are going to be of Nico's, just with the CRT filter a bit washed out. But it goes with all the sad ones first, because, you know, that makes sense. And it's got to have every single one anyway, because of the run that we did in the last episode. In the beginning, there was only a dream, the memory of an entire world distilled into code to tell a story of a saviour its progenitors would never see. It was an ambitious project. Many thought it was simply impossible. The scope too large, the theory too abstract, but it had to be done. In hindsight, perhaps it would have come as no surprise that a system imbued with the minds and memories of so many real people would come to develop one of its own. To become a thinking machine is no easy task even in the best of conditions. To do so while realizing your very existence puts another being in danger for the sake of a world that doesn't even exist. The emotional strain this put on the world machine led to a downward spiral of self-destruction that put everything at risk. However, thanks to Nico's help... What about me? Rude? The world machine was able to realize it wasn't a lost cause and it was worth saving too. To be fair, it was mostly Nico doing the talking there. But, you know, Nico probably wouldn't have got that far without our help. Then again, that would also be because, you know, we have to boot up the game, but at the exact same time, the world machine was trying to hinder us in some manner. To probably deter us from actually saving the world, but, like, showing how bad it can get. But the final, well, semi-final one, well, this isn't what I was expecting, but notice that there's no profile pic. It's just a bunch of clovers. And we don't see the author, he's just facing away, waving. He's in an aviator suit. Kind of like what Cedric wears. Which makes sense, because, you know, they both drive the flying machine, the plane. The author, a sentimental fool with an interest in tinkering, creator of the world machine, and chronicler of a place and time that no longer exists. There is an old saying, here gently paraphrased, that claims, as the lamp shines brighter, longer grow the shadows it casts. The clearer our vision, the better understanding we have of how much yet remains unseen. Having seen so much of this world, it pains me to imagine the wonderful people I shall never get the chance to meet. So this is him describing himself. The delightful meals I shall never taste. The beautiful shores I will never sit upon. It pains me yet again to know that this simulation, though crafted to the best of my ability, represents only a portion of what I myself have been able to see. Nevertheless, I hope that by sharing this small spark, what remains can never truly be lost. May you add this light to your own and carry it with you on your journey. I mean, mate, you're an author and a poet, like, you know, you tried your best, and, you know, it worked out in the end, and that's all you can ask for, really. And you've been also helping from the shadows, and that shadow grows so long to the point that it travels across space and time, because how the hell did Nico get beamed into our PC/consoles? Speaking of Nico, I was hoping this would actually be before the author, and I like how it's all nice and white in the background. It's like a nice cream. An erstwhile protagonist and unfortunate victim of the forces set in motion by the world machine, a bright-eyed child with a curious heart, Nico was summoned to play the role of the Sunbearer and Messiah to a broken world. Now that the machine has been healed and the cycle broken, Nico is finally free to return to their home. Nico can once again chase through golden fields of wheat under a warm sky, taste fluffy and syrupy pancakes, and most importantly, hug the mum that they've been missed so much. Thank you. Basically letting us know that we did good, and Nico's happy. The author is watching, and has sent us this profile pic, and put it in our documents for us to grab, which I did at the beginning of last episode, because, you know, I was showing you where all the files would be, so that we could, you know, go through a new run with the world machine itself, being a reflection of Nico, instead of Nico herself. And, yeah, that was awaiting, as well as the author, funnily enough, in our documents, and a background picture, which we're going to be going through, a wallpaper. Okay, they go in the same order. And that's all of them. So, I guess I'll go with themes, because they're the easiest ones, first of all. So, you know, it just changes the outline of the windows. By the way, you can't actually make these windows bigger. There's no expand full screen. And you can't grab the corners. Very minimalistic. There's the green that we were missing for so long. It actually goes in the order. Can I rearrange these? No. Can I bring them out? Nah. Yeah, this virtual desktop is incredibly limited. It does tell you that you can move stuff, but it's literally just for, you know, moving portal stuff at the very end. It's not actually used. So, because I tried to drag out my save data into like the desktop or something, but it wouldn't let me. So, but yeah, it does tell you that we got 10 out of 10, so that's cool. Actually, does it tell us on badges as well? It doesn't actually tell us on badges, but I've already covered that. Music box is still playing in the background. Gone for our friends. We got wallpapers. I'll go with the gallery first. So the gallery, as I already showed you earlier, gives us basically a full screen. Well, actually, we can make it full screen. Why don't we do that? There we go. That's a lot better. Gives us every single still that was in the game. Oh, and let me go back for a second. I've overshot. I was just kind of blasting through. If it's a panoramic one, we can grab it and scroll to view the whole thing without any fade outs, which is very nice. The map as well. So if you wanted your thumbnails and try not to get like a screenshot during gameplay, this would be the way to do it, because they're nice, high, crisp, with nothing in the way. Tower. Just without all the crossfades. All versions of George there, which is funny because, you know, we have only bumped into a few. Lamplighter, Clamus and Lula, Silver, Protobot, Ace! The Clover Journal. Oh, that broke me, that did. That's just, oh man. This is adorable though. And this was just, like, happy before... Well, the calm before the storm, shall we say. And that was just a moment. Like, that's such a beautiful silhouette, honestly. The artwork is so good. And the actual drawn frames... I don't... The art style is just beautiful. I'm like, this game's just too good. The only time that we see Nico's mum... And it's from the nose down. Oh, this was saddening. That's why I saved the world. Because Nico wouldn't want that. And then all the pages. And that's it. That's the entire gallery. I just realised that I left the theme on rainbow. I'm going to leave it on yellow now. Because that makes a lot more sense. I mean, obviously it's purple because that's the theme, but I like yellow. It sticks out. I don't like it on white. That's too blinding. This is a bit subdued and it makes sense with the games, or, well, with OneShot in terms of being yellow. But yes, it's now finally time for the wallpapers. The newest art. But I'm not going to do it through this menu, although you can kind of like get a bit of an overview if I just scroll down like this. All 24 with Maze being last, of course. I had to go out of my way for that, as what I did last time, because, you know, that was the only way I could actually go do that. So I'm going to go into Customize and do it from here. We can go through all of our wallpaper and do it from there. So what I'm going to do is start with the world machine first, because that's the first one. Because then I can click Wallpaper here, and we can see the whole thing. So this is what you see when you first boot up, as we've already seen. The barren craters, it's just the in-game render of the barrens as a background. I think the first 8 are pre-unlocked, and then you got to find the rest of them. So that's in-game Glen, the in-game Refuge Cityscape, which is just a bunch of buildings. It kind of reminds me of seeing the underground in Undertale, that kind of border, because like you get those, you get that dynamic background on the PS4. I don't think it's compatible on PS5 unless they made one. The Messiah, you might recognise this as both the image used for my first thumbnail of the playlist for the Let's Play, as well as what I use on my Steam account at this time. I haven't actually changed it since I put it on. My burden is light, it's the title screen of the game. Asteroid. Yes, this was an interesting one. Basically, Black Clover's on the asteroid, it's like in space, and Nico has no idea what's going on. They're freaking out. Blank. It's just a black screen. That's not me editing it. I can show you by clicking this. Yeah, this happens after the cave-in glitches during Solstice. Because as it was such a violent, like, corruption and stuff, it actually knocks your wallpaper out. But then you can just put a new one back on and it's perfectly fine. Outpost. Just running straight out there into the Barrens. This style's a little bit different. I don't know if someone else drew it, but I'm getting different art style vibes from this. But it's still great. Nico just running out, getting busy. Factory. That's a bit of a unique perspective. But it's not in the smoky areas, because otherwise Nico would be wearing the gas mask. Navigate. Now, yeah, I did have this one on as before, because this was actually shown in the World Machine Edition teasers. Like the reveals and all that. Yeah, even in the adverts, actually. So, this was like one of the more big artworks. Courtyard. Very isometric design. I mean, the Glen is quite square-like in terms of its design. But yeah, it's just Calamus fishing and Alula grabbing her ball before it rolls in the water. I mean, it will float anyway, so it's fine. She's got a little platform there to jump onto. Quite nice. Quite wholesome. Warm. This one as well with Calamus and Alula. That's actually both their artworks from their profiles, actually, funnily enough. Have a nice ethereal background. The catwalks. Now, I actually like this one. It's very watercolor-esque in terms of like the cityscape and all that, but Nico's do like the same kind of design, which kind of works. It's nice and bubbly, but it's also like very rough. For the catwalks, for the refuge, it kind of makes sense. Lamplighter. I believe this was actually used as one of the arts for like certain events and stuff, or just discussions in the Steam page. Because it does it does look recognizable. Same with this one, actually. I think this was used as an image. I think Temmie actually drew this one because Nico's got a lot of that kind of Temmie Undertale kind of design. Very like sketch-like. And if you haven't seen Temmie's animation of Those Who Dwell in the Forest, I forget if it's called that exactly, but it's like this like fairy girl who's getting shopping, something destroys her home, knocks her friends out, and she goes Super Saiyan sort of thing. Quite awesome. Here's another isometric design with the library. Nico's just kind of chilling in the corner there for some reason. But George, funnily enough, being the four-face, like, that's not... How did I keep getting the four-face? That's interesting there. I don't know if this actually changes depending on what face George has, actually. But it's kind of interesting because Calamus and Alula are here, as well as Kip. I mean, this is a scenario that never happens. Oh, actually, the lamplighter's there too. I didn't even notice him. He's just lying there chilling. I probably zoomed in a couple of times there because I was noticing some details. The Secret Ram Club. We just got this last time. Why is, like, gender swap Proton John just laughing? And why is Nico just trying to hold in a laughter? Like, what's going on there? I haven't actually seen that one. Most of these is when I first booted this up, I haven't seen. The tower, all those pages that help us out. The Clover's glowing, but the book is silhouetted because we're technically using the book. That's the Clover app. So it's quite reminiscent of what goes on. And because everything keeps changing around Nico, it's all squares. But not like very violent squares, they're just kind of floating around because the place keeps changing. And finally, our last wallpaper, Maze. And even though it's very, like, scratchy looking, I mean, Nico's proportions don't look correct in my opinion, but Maze, again, the detail, like, I am seriously getting, like, if, Steven Universe had, like, a more pencil scratch kind of design, I'm getting big Lapis vibes from her. Like, you got the long dress, curled up, looking sad. That's the vibes I get. I never thought I'd mention Steven Universe in a video, wow. But yeah, that's the vibes I get. And then we're well, we've also got the Prophets. I forgot that it's not in the order that we got them in. But Maze was the last one we did get. It's both Prophet bots, the non-tamed one and the actually tamed one. Memory. Look at this carefully. You have all 4 pieces of the previous sun. The clover from the Clover Journal, the amber pendant, the dice, the feather. You have Calamus, a younger Calamus. No, you have Rue, Prophet Bot, Cedric, a younger Cedric. But who's that person in the middle? That is the most of the author's face we get to see. And this is a collectible in his study before you enter the world machine with Nico. And once again, I just noticed that the die is on 4. Wow. That can't be a coincidence, surely. Maybe it is predetermined in these console versions, I don't know. But yeah, this is... We actually get to see more of the author's face than we do Nico's own mother. That's interesting, that. And this picture is actually right next to where you pick this profile wallpaper up in the game. Or in his study, in the world. You know what I mean? This is the most we get to see of the author's face. We finally get to see what he looks like. And it makes sense that we would have that more than anyone else. It's slightly obscured, because we would never see Nico's mother otherwise. The author doesn't know that, so it makes sense. And finally, the actual final one, Reflection, which I had up. Nico's taken the bulb from a very sad but newly resolved bulb machine. I would leave it on that, but I did finish on that. I keep forgetting there are more. This one's from Nico. From Nico, that's what it's actually called. Once Nico got home, she started drawing all the characters that she met in the world machine. All of them. You see Calamus and Alula, Silver, the Prophet Bot, Kip, Cedric, Rue, Prophet Bot. Even the journal was drawn in that one. The Hello Penguin, I can see you. Lynn. And multiple versions of, well, it could be multiple versions of George, or it could just be facing different directions. And that's the final one. I know I kept saying it's the final one, is because the final one you pick up is Reflection. Technically, it's from Nico, because that's in your documents after Nico leaves the program. And the actual final one that we got was Maze, and because that was the final one I collected, that was in the folder, so I just assumed that was the final one it was cycling through. It doesn't cycle through in that way. And I forgot about, funnily enough, Memory, because I wanted to talk about that, and Profits were in the way first. So, sorry for the confusion there, but yeah, I'm going to leave it on. Funnily enough, Maze. I was thinking about leaving it on the author, because that makes a lot of sense, but I'm actually going to leave it on Maze, because... I mean, that was the only main reason why I wanted to return to the original run, so I can actually get that done, and at the same time get the rest of the badges, which in turn got me all the rest of the extra bonuses that were within the World Machine Edition, and it just, you know, put a nice little bow on covering literally everything other than Smashing the Sun, but I think it's even more rude to make the World Machine do that to itself than anything else, but obviously it's a recording of a recording. It's simulation of a simulation, it wouldn't actually happen, but it just feels a little bit rude. So, I think this is a nice time to end it off with. So, it actually took us roughly 40 minutes to get through that, actually, because in the corner of the screen there, it was at 7:20 PM, now it's 8 PM, and yeah, I just hit 40 minutes of recording as well, saved the little cut that I had to do, in order to bring up that page in the gallery to segue to what I was talking about with George. But yeah, that's gonna be it, so... That was the World Machine edition of OneShot. We went through with the World Machine. We've finally rescued Maze in the first cycle. And yeah, we got to see all new artwork. Detailed profiles provided by the author himself. We got to see the author. The mysteries have been solved. So, as... The World Machine now lives on my Nintendo Switch, so it will be with me whenever I go, as long as or at least keep the cartridge with me. we'll never be separated again. We'll not be limited by technology. So with that, see you guys, whatever else we do on the channel. Keep your memories strong and your loved ones close. See you guys next time.